Hi, I'm Jordan, and I recently conducted a gummy bear experiment that's due. So, I'd like to first talk about the control and how, of course, as expected, there's no change to the gummy bear. And here's the original gummy bear, so here's a reference of what it's supposed to look like normally. And the experiment was supposed to predict that for the salt solution with water, when we place the gummy bear inside, that's supposed to shrink and swell. And that didn't quite happen with mine. Instead, a more extreme effect happened. And regarding the tap water solution, the gummy bear was simply supposed to grow and inside of the water solution and take in a little bit of the water. But instead, if anything, it somewhat decreased in size and it was severely distorted. So, I'd like to first talk about the gummy bear that I put in the salt and water solution. Prior to the experiment, I found that the intrinsic viscosity of gelatin decreases with increasing salt solution, so the solubility of the gelatin would be enhanced in the salty water. And this can be explained by the tertiary electroviscous effect, and as more salts are added, the intra-electrostatic repulsion in gelatin is weakened by the stronger screening effect of small ions in salt. So when the gummy bear is placed in the salty water solution, it starts to solubilize faster in the solution instead of swelling, and after a few hours the whole gummy bear ended up dissolving, and the resulting solution became more viscous than the original. Therefore, this solution became a reddish-pink color due to the presence of the coloring agent, specifically water-soluble food dyes. So, that explains why this happened. This reddish-pink solution formed instead of the gummy bear just shrinking in size like we initially predicted. And I added quite a bit of chemically pure salt within the 6 hours that the gummy bear sat in there, so that would definitely explain things. And regarding the tap water, I had the gummy bear in this water solution, and it became slightly pinkish too, but much less so than the first one, and I had to place it on a paper towel / napkin and dry it, and it ended up being distorted like this. It's just like a blob now. So I'm going to talk about the scientific reason as to why I believe that happened, and I expected that to happen and become distorted and shrink a little bit in the salt solution, but instead this happened in the tap water solution. And this experiment is related to the swelling and dissolution of the specific polymer of the gummy bear in water, and it's somewhat related to osmosis. Of course, like instructed, I left the gummy bear in there for 6 hours, and it's also important to know the main ingredients of the gummy bear. The gummy bears have a popular biopolymer gelatin, and other ingredients include sugar, citric acid, and coloring agents, and those are all the things that are really important chemically inside of gummy bear for the most part. And I placed it in the water for 6 hours, and the size slightly decreased and it became distorted. And this happened first because the gelatin formed a hydrogel in the water by taking up water itself, and the gelatin has functional groups like carboxylic acids and amine groups, which have a hydrophilic property. And swelling the swelling of the gummy bear occurred because of a result of inhibition of water by the gelatin gel, and in this phenomenon the water's actually taken up inside the structure of the gel miscels, and the same thing can also explain why potentially a gummy bear would enlarge, but in this case, it shrank and became distorted, and the miscal part is held firmly by the molecules constituting the miscal owing to forces which are probably chemical in nature and causes a change in the volume of the miscals, and the process stops when a certain limit is reached depending on the cohesion between the molecules of gelatin constituting the miscals. Water remains in the intermiscellary spaces of the polymer, and hence the size change that I observed in the 6 hours. But after this, the gummy bear became distorted because the gelatin polymer that's soluble in water in some extent at room temperature, and due to water uptake inside meant increased pressure, so it broke and the water spread slowly, causing the distorted shape.